Coming up next on KPBS Evening Edition, as a neighborhood in El Cajon grieves for two young boys, one accused of killing the other, we ask, how can this have happened?
And research by a San Diego scientist is at the heart of a new report. It could have global implications for climate change. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Joanne Ferrian.
And I'm Dwayne Brown. The Border Patrol is launching a new crackdown on illegal border crossings from Mexico. The agency says it won't just send people back without any consequences. Instead, agents will use a new color-coded system to categorize detained migrants based on their number of attempts or criminal history. From there, the agents will decide what action to take, ranging from criminal prosecution to busing the migrants hundreds of miles away. The system is already being used in Arizona. The Associated Press says a national plan will be announced later this month.
An arson fire damaged several buildings at Ellis Burney Elementary School in University Heights last night. Students were kept home today. KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert joins us from the News Center with an update. Kyla, how much damage did the fires do, and when will the school reopen?
The fires damaged the school's cafeteria, auditorium, and a guidance counselor office, and renovations had actually recently been completed on some of those facilities. And the principal said that she expects the repairs to last through the end of the school year in some cases. They don't know exactly how much those repairs will cost yet, but she did say that they lost about $50,000 in after-school materials, and the school's foundation is accepting donations to replace those materials. Students will be back in class tomorrow, but the principal said that they're going to try to have as normal a day as possible once they talk to the students about the fire.
I think the message for the kids is that we're resilient and we rebuild and we make life better than it was before. I mean, I think kids need to know that you know, there are problems and the problems are there to be solved, and that we survive and we come together and work together to make it better.
Kyla, there have been several other arson fires set at Jehovah's Witness Hall in University Heights in the last month or so. Do we know, is the fire department saying whether there is a link to those fires and this one at the school? That's right. There were 3 separate arson events at the Jehovah's Witness Hall, which is less than a mile from this school. And this morning, a spokesman of the fire department was saying that there was no immediate indication that the fires were related. But the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is offering a $5,000 reward for anyone who provides information that leads to the arrest of the person who set this fire, and they've offered the same reward for information that leads to the arrest of the person who set the Jehovah's Witness Hall fires. KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert.
Murder charges have been filed against an Iraq war veteran who trained at Camp Pendleton. Prosecutors in Orange County say Itzcuatel Ocampo stalked 4 homeless men before stabbing them. They also say he had selected additional victims. Family members say Ocampo was a troubled man when he returned from Iraq. Prosecutors haven't decided yet whether they'll seek the death penalty. The family of a fallen Camp Pendleton Marine has received one of the military's highest honors. The Navy Cross was awarded to the family of Lance Corporal Donald Hogan today. The 20-year-old was recognized for acting without hesitation to save the life of his squad mates in 2009. Hogan was killed in Hermon Province when he hurled his body into another Marine to protect him from an explosive device. He also warned his squad mates to take cover before the bomb went off. Hogan's father says he's been surprised by the kindness the military has extended to his family.
When you lose your son in combat, there's a great hullabaloo. The spotlight's on and everybody's there, but afterwards, there's a new there's a new person killed. The spotlight moves, but the Marines are always there. They call us. The kid's in his unit. They check to make sure that we're okay, and then something like this.
In addition to receiving the Navy's highest honor, Camp Pendleton is named a barracks after Lance Corporal Hogan. Since his death, 50 other Marines from the 1-5 have been killed in Afghanistan, and more than 5,000 families have lost a loved one since the wars began in 2001. The county sheriff is investigating the stabbing death of a 12-year-old boy in El Cajon. A 10-year-old is accused of the crime. Joanna's talking about the case with a psychiatrist for kids at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
It is among the rarest of crimes when a child is accused of murder. Yesterday, in a driveway of an El Cajon home, a 10-year-old boy allegedly stabbed his 12-year-old neighbor to death with a kitchen knife. Media reports say the 10-year-old accused was being treated for anger issues and that his mother was proactive in dealing with those issues. Joining me now is Dr. Jeff Rowe, the supervising psychiatrist of San Diego County Mental Health Services. Dr. Rowe, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This is such a frightening story for so many parents, and they're asking the question today, how do I know if my child is simply acting out or maybe has anger issues, or maybe something even more serious than anger issues?
Well, that can be a difficult question to answer, and as a parent myself, sometimes you don't have good perspective on what's happening. You know, what should it be? How could it be? And I think it's good to get help. You don't have to get a ton of mental health help. You can get a little bit, too, just to see if you're on the right track.
Well, what kind of help?
Well, there's everything, the range from just a few classes all the way to intensive psychotherapy and medicine. So there's a big range of mental health service in this county. And so I would start with just an interview with a clinician. If you're eligible for county services, calling the Access and Crisis Line is a great way to get started. And that number is 1-800-479-3339.
How young is too young, though? We think 10, a 10-year-old boy, could be accused of something like this. How young is too young to really be considered in some sort of trouble?
Well, 5 years ago, I would have said, about 5 or 6. But we now have services available for kids all the way as young as 10 months, 11 months. The youngest patient I'm aware of was 18 months. So we have early childhood mental health services now. We have something called Healthy Developmental Services, which is funded by First Five, and that's available in every region of the county. There's a regional coordinator in every region of the county. And then we have a place that's more specialized for more complicated situations called Kids Start Center for Children, and that's currently being done by Rady Children's Hospital. The county's funding it and kind of supervising and helping, but Rady's is doing it.
What happens in a child's brain at that age? Are you developing these sort of social controls, these controls over your anger at a very young age, and if that isn't done properly, these connections aren't made, are you headed down a bad road, or what happens?
Well, sometimes the answer is yes. The first 6 years of life are a very important developmental stage for developing self-control. Control over sleep patterns, eating, aggression, social relations, all that kind of stuff. And if you're not cared for well, or if you have a part that's not quite in the right place, your ability to control yourself, to control your impulses, control your behavior, is diminished, and now you're at risk for not being able to control yourself, which is bad.
I got to tell you, you say you're a parent, I'm a parent, all my friends are parents, and what you see, it's often tough when you have a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old to say now, is this just, some bad behavior? Is this bad parenting? Is this something more serious? And don't forget, if you're a mom or you're a dad and this is your kid, there's got to be sort of this inability to kind of accept that it could be something more serious than a behavioral problem.
Yeah, that's true. And really 2 points to be made. One is we don't teach family life skills too much anymore. I got it in high school, but I think I'm a little bit older than you. I don't think that's taught anymore, so people don't have a good sense of how should it be. How should you parent a young child, a medium child, a teenage child? So that's one part. And the second part is although we don't like this, stigma is still pretty strong against mental health problems, getting mental health treatment, admitting you have mental health problems, admitting your child might have a mental health problem. So that inhibits a lot of people seeking advice and seeking care.
You've been in this business for a while. Have you seen cases like this where young kids acting out violently or something similar?
Yes. There are, I hate to say this because it sounds bad, but there are probably hundreds of children under the age of 10 who have trouble controlling themselves, maybe thousands. And those kids might yell, they might scream, they might hit, they might break stuff. But which child might actually hurt someone else, we don't know. That's really hard to predict. And as you said, I've been doing this a long time. So kids at risk for doing an impulsive thing or not controlling themselves, a lot. Kids who do it, very few. But I think it's really okay to get assessed and treated if you're just at risk. We have all kinds of services to provide.
Let's talk a little bit about those services. We have heard over the past couple of years about guidance counselors being cut from schools, school nurses, sort of the first line of defense, you might think. And we know in this particular school district, in the elementary school system, at least for the last 10 years, there were no guidance counselors. They do have a mobile crisis team. Where's the first person you go as a parent who just perhaps does want to have their child assessed?
Well, I probably will not tell you all the details about the school systems. They have been cut over the past 5 years, each year. There are some district counselors in certain districts. Remember, there's 42 districts in our county. And so there's some resources in San Diego Unified that might not be in other districts, some in Poway that might not be in others. So there are some resources. There are also some specialty mental health clinicians on the campus of about 200, maybe 250 schools. So some schools have a lot of resources, some have very little. And so I love teachers. I know they have a tremendous job, but they're kind of the first line. They know the kids. They see them each day. Teachers want to teach, but they also care about the kids.
We only have a few seconds left, but the prognosis for kids who get identified as maybe sort of having these kinds of issues, can they get help? Is it medication? Is it therapy? What happens?
Well, the earlier the better is really the rule. So the earlier we get a child in and the earlier we're able to help them with their impulse control, the better. Medicines should be reserved after other treatments have been tried, and they're really for three things. One is to improve safety of the situation. The second is to reduce suffering of both the child and the family. And the third is to improve function. That's the only reason, those are only three reasons to take medicines. And they should be used after other things have been tried. But they do get used in this county.
Dr. Rowe, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
San Diego's biotech industry is getting a boost from a major pharmaceutical company. It's designed to help the little guys get a foot in the door. A subdivision of Johnson & Johnson called Janssen Labs has opened an incubator site for entrepreneurs in La Jolla. KPBS science and technology reporter Peggy Pico joins us from the News Center. Tell us how the new labs, Peggy, will differ from other research facilities already here.
Well, Dwayne, J&J calls this new incubator San Diego's Life Science Innovation Center. Now, this is video you're about to see of the 30,000 square foot facility that's attached to the main research and development building at Janssen Labs in La Jolla. You'll notice the labs are empty, except for some very expensive lab equipment that will be shared by whomever leases the space. The science incubator model is similar to leasing a condo, except instead of sharing the expense of, say, a pool or sauna, the scientists renting here will share research equipment, but still get their own laboratory. The lab sizes range from housing just 2 people up to a team of 25 researchers.
Now, other companies, Peggy, have tried similar co-ops. What makes this one different?
Well, that's right, Dwayne. Pfizer tried this a few years ago and failed because there were too many strings attached. For example, if a discovery was made, Pfizer had first rights to the intellectual property. But Janssen says they are different and are simply offering shared equipment with separate workspaces and no obligations.
And entrepreneurs like to be free. And therefore, we created something that had absolutely no strings attached. So people can come here and partner and go, and they are not necessarily tied to us in any way that constrains their decision power.
More than 100 applicants, Dwayne, from life science companies across the U.S. and from countries such as China and Mexico are competing for the 18 to 20 lab areas in that new facility.
KPBS science and tech reporter Peggy Pico. A San Diego researcher could help lead the way in slowing climate change. We'll talk with him in just a few minutes. And from our Healthy San Diego desk, a look at a new movement to create smoke-free apartments. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Tonight on KPBS at 8, explore General Custer's charge at Gettysburg and his death at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Custer's last stand on American experience. Then at 10 on Frontline, in light of the nuclear accident in Japan, questions arise on the relicensing of a nuclear plant only 38 miles from Manhattan. And at 11, see how an unprecedented movement forced the end of apartheid in South Africa on Independent Lens. That's tonight on KPBS.
When a giant falls,
out there is a dead sperm whale.
They get the call.
This animal, I think, is only around 24 hours dead.
Earth's most gigantic creatures examined in the field.
That is amazing. Evidence of evolution.
Bold experiments.
This has never been done before.
New discoveries.
It's really exciting.
Tuesday at 10 on KPBS. KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
California isn't what you'd call a tobacco-friendly state. Smoking is banned in most public places, and state officials have classified secondhand smoke as a carcinogen. But KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg tells us there's one segment of California living where protection for non-smokers is sporadic at best.
In San Diego, it's illegal to smoke on the beach, at a Padres game, and in a public park. When you add in statewide restrictions on smoking in bars, restaurants, and workplaces, California has some of the nation's toughest anti-smoking laws. However, people who live in multifamily housing are left largely unprotected against exposure to secondhand smoke.
So, Ophelia, how bad was it when you'd come home?
Well, if someone had been smoking out here, I would come home and I could almost immediately smell it in this area. And then if I left the door open so my apartment would be fresh when I walked in, I would smell the smoke in here similar to if somebody had been smoking inside my apartment.
Ophelia Alvarado has lived in her Point Loma apartment since 1994. A few years ago, a smoker moved in upstairs. Alvarado says the smoke would permeate her apartment, and her body would protest.
I would start with a burning nose first, and then my throat, a headache. And then eventually I started having heart palpitations. And that was so serious that I had to go see a doctor.
Alvarado worked with the property manager to ban smoking on the premises. Ironically, Alvarado does that kind of work for a living. As policy director for the American Lung Association in San Diego, she encourages communities here to establish smoke-free multifamily housing. Alvarado gets a lot of calls from tenants complaining about neighbors who smoke.
And I am very glad actually to have gone through that experience because I can understand and empathize with their experience of having to tolerate secondhand smoke and understand why they're feeling so frustrated or, you know, actually at their wits' end about it.
To be sure, there are smoke-free apartments in California, but statewide, only 3 counties and 20 cities have laws that prohibit or limit smoking in multifamily housing. There are no communities in San Diego County that have such laws. That's due in part to stiff opposition from the San Diego County Apartment Association. Executive Director Alan Pentago says it's wrong to force property owners to go smoke-free.
So for us, the avenue is to allow the owner to take the best approach appropriate for his property. Instead of mandating it, give them the opportunity to decide what's best on their property.
The San Diego County Housing Authority has done just that. It owns 121 units in 4 different buildings in Chula Vista. They all went smoke-free last July. The county's Todd Henderson says protecting their tenants from secondhand smoke is the biggest benefit.
Second one is reducing the possibility of fires, people smoking in bed, lighting the place on fire. Obviously, that's a big concern. And then the cost involved in turning over a property that's had a heavy smoker in it. The walls may be coated with smoke and the deodorizing issue, carpet cleaning, things of that nature. There's a hard cost associated with that.
Besides banning smoking inside the apartments, there's no smoking in any of the property's common areas either.
The one area that we do have for smoking is down here. That's the one designated smoking area.
Don Mitchell has lived in the complex for 12 years. His wife has emphysema, so he's never smoked in his apartment anyway.
I don't find it an infringement. At first, it annoyed me. But I thought, the more I thought about it, the more I agreed with it. Seriously.
That story by KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg. Multifamily units make up about 1/3 of California's housing. What if you knew a $10 fan could actually slow global warming? Joanne's next guest has spent a lifetime researching small solutions to the problem. They're talking about it at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
A San Diego scientist research into reducing emissions could lead the way in slowing the pace of climate change. While carbon dioxide is the biggest contributor to global warming, Dr. Ramanathan has identified others and outlined 14 steps to reduce them in a new NASA study. Dr. Ramanathan is Distinguished Professor of Atmospheric and Climate Sciences at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography and Vice Chair for NASA Study. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about some of the other main sources. What did you look at?
Just to set the stage, for over 100 years, we have framed the global warming problem in terms of primarily carbon dioxide. That's the gas which comes out when you burn any fuel. And once it's there, it stays for centuries, so we need to bring them down. But unfortunately, the world is gridlocked. They don't know how to get it out, and there's no agreement as of today. So that situation looks hopeless because the climate is warming. Fortunately, my research in my lab has shown there's a way to get out of this mess. Basically, we target this so-called short-lived climate-forcing gases and particulates, pollution. And the primary pollutants there are methane, which is a primary component of natural gas we use for cooking, CFCs and HFCs, these are chlorofluorocarbons, which are used as refrigerants and spray cans. These I had discovered 35 years ago. One molecule of the CFC has the same effect as 15,000 molecules of carbon dioxide, super potent greenhouse gas. We have replaced them with HFCs, which are about 1,000 times. The third is ozone. We think of ozone as a smog, but it's also a potent greenhouse gas. And the last one is black carbon particles. It's not a gas. It comes out as soot in your diesel truck or when you burn firewood. And it is about 500 to 1,000 times more effective as carbon dioxide in global warming.
So do we know what percent these pollutants contribute to climate change as opposed to carbon dioxide?
Excellent question. Turns out, as of today, these four pollutants cause as much as 40% of the global warming, total global warming, as of today. And we have technologies and the know-how to bring them down by at least 30%, if not 50%, in the next 20-25 years.
Why have we not been looking at these before?
You have to ask that to my colleagues who are not taking a look at that. But there is one good reason. CO2, since it stays there for 100 to 1,000 years, if we don't cut their emissions now, they'll build up so large by end of this century that the planet could heat up by unprecedented levels, 2 degrees, 4 degrees in terms of Celsius, in terms of Fahrenheit as much as 6 to 8 degrees. So we need to cut them down. So the world was focusing on it. Scientists like me who have been working on this non-CO2 pollutants have been sitting on the sidelines hoping we would solve the CO2, but it has not happened. So I decided about 5 years ago to come out of my shell and try to tell the world there's another way out of this mess. Basically what I mean by other way is that we can push this so-called dangerous climate warming downstream by about 25 years. And we think that's the time we need to have rapid transformational change in our energy use. Come way to solve the CO2 problem.
We haven't got a lot of time left, but before we go, we're showing some pictures right now of a woman over a cook stove. The things you're talking about are actually small, simple things that didn't occur to us.
Fantastic. For example, how practical and simple are the solutions? Black carbon, about 25% of it comes from emissions from cook stoves in Asia and Africa because they burn biomass to cook and heat. And we have found just by adding a small fan to this cook stove, you can cut down the emission by 75–80%. This is a $10 fan. Likewise, diesel particulate filters, they are there. And the California has cut down its soot emissions by 50%. So we can export our technology to the rest of the world.
Doctor, our time's run out, but if people go to our website, kpbs.org, we have a link to more on your research. Also, they can hear a radio interview on kpbs.org to get more details about the simple solutions we and the rest of the world can do. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Ray Suarez. On the next News Hour, a look at money and the 2012 campaign with the rise of the so-called super PACs. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour.
The American people have named PBS
the most trusted source of news
and public affairs
for the 8th year
in a row.
Trust.
The American people have spoken.
Thank you.
The fabric of democracy, I think, really has worn very thin.
The opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice.
Americans have to fight for the American dream.
Democracy is not what governments do, it's what people do.
This is how we fight back.
Moyers and Company.
I'm Bill Moyers. Join me Friday nights at 10 on KPBS San Diego.
Welcome back to the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition. Tonight, an update on Snapdragon Gate, the controversy that surrounded San Diego Mayor Jerry Sanders when he allowed Qualcomm Stadium to be renamed temporarily to Snapdragon. The name was meant to publicize Qualcomm's new smartphone processor. The mayor did not get approval from City Council, and that makes the renaming illegal. Today, City Attorney Jan Goldsmith released a memo that says the mayor can undo what he did by asking City Council to ratify the name change retroactively. Jan Goldsmith also had this warning in his statement. Following an open and legal process is important, particularly given this city's history. Our lawyers work hard publicly and behind the scenes to ensure that the city does not again develop an attitude that ignores process and law. Well, we'll keep you updated on what City Council decides to do. And you can weigh in on this conversation by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and of course, you can always email me, jfarian@kpbs.org. I would love to hear from you. And now let's go back to the news desk where Dwayne has a recap of tonight's top stories.
Classes will resume tomorrow at Alice Burney Elementary in University Heights. That's where an arson fire damaged part of the school today. A $5,000 reward is being offered to catch the arsonist. And the Navy's highest honor has been awarded to a fallen Camp Pendleton Marine. Today, the Navy Cross was presented to the family of Lance Corporal Donald Hogan. He was killed in Afghanistan trying to protect his squad mates from an explosive device. You can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.